One of the greatest problems our nation faces today is our escalating debt. Federally, $16 trillion, locally, $50 billion in unfunded liabilities. We have repeatedly voted in people with no morals, liars, adulterers, sexual deviants, and then we wonder why our country is in such decay. These politicians point fingers at each other. They say, look what you've done. This is your problem. But a true leader doesn't play the blame game. A true leader takes responsibility for their people. King David, King Solomon, Nehemiah, Isaiah, Jeremiah all took responsibility for the sins of their people. Leviticus 4:13, if the whole community sins unintentionally, even though the community is unaware of the matter, they are guilty. As a leader, I come before you, Lord, and ask forgiveness for what we have done to our country. As Christians, we have failed our stewardship and have allowed moral decay to take hold of our country. Also, I ask forgiveness from the youth of our country for the debt that they will inherit from us. Repenting of sin is futile if we don't change from our wicked ways. Now is the time to put men and women of good moral conviction back into office. Now is the time to let God lead our country out of this darkness. I believe in the sanctity of life from conception to the last natural breath. No ands, ifs, or buts. Sanctity of marriage. One man, one woman, one marriage. God's word never changes. What was sin 3,000 years ago is sin today. We are to love the sinner, but we are to detest the sin. Separation of church and state. If you believe that, maybe I can sell you some oceanfront property in Kansas. The First Amendment, government makes no establishment of religion. Now, in studying the Constitution, you really get to know the Founding Fathers. Everything these men did centered on their faith. Their faith in God as they forged documents that would forge the foundation of our country. It wasn't uncommon for them to get on their knees in the middle of a session and pray unceasingly, sometimes for as long as 6 hours. 6 of our first 13 states had state religions. If you were not involved in that state's church, you could not hold a political office in that state. Alice de Tocqueville, 1831, wrote about the importance of religion in America. He said, religion in America takes no direct part in the government or society, but it must be regarded as the first of their political institutions. He also wrote that the biggest flaw that he sees in our Constitution is that the judicial branch could usurp the power that was given to them and become more powerful than than our legislative and presidential branches. And he was right. As you can see now, we have a handful of people that are establishing the laws that rule what we can and can't do. Schools. I don't know if any of you are aware of the old Deluder Act. The first law in our nation that formed a school system, the old Deluder Act, the purpose of it was to teach our children the Bible. And that was the only purpose of the first act to form a school. 1640. Now, unfortunately, the Bible is the only thing we really can't teach in schools. We can teach everything else but the Bible. We've changed things to where we've got Planned Parenthood is now teaching birth control to the elementary kids, oral and anal sex. We spend 9% of the school funds on counselors and nurses. With what's being taught in the school, we're probably going to need to spend a whole lot more on counselors. My opponent has a plan to fix our school system by pumping $1 billion into the school system. I've worked out a plan that doesn't take any more taxpayer dollars just by increasing the percentage of money that is spent on education. And part of that is eliminating the morals that are taught in schools. The moral values. The moral values should be taught at home, not by the teachers and not by the system that we have running the schools. Randy Hayden, 32nd LD. I can use your support. Thank you.